There was some time between your last album and this one. What was going on in that 3-year period?
Just a lot of sexiness. A lot of sexy.
As social media becomes more prevalent in our everyday lives, I feel like we stray further from what the internet's initial intention should have been. We are constantly bombarded with fake information and give common people an inflated sense of ego and importance. The reality is that humans are not programmed to be exposed to such a large swath of people. We are tribal by nature and typically accustom ourselves to a group of around 200, not 2 million. Why start with this little rant? Social media platforms such as TikTok have given people too much leeway into their own bad behaviors. In a simple way, I don't think people get bullied enough in today's society, and it is never more prevalent than in the body positivity / fat acceptance movement. Hell, as a former fatty, I understand the complications that arise with telling people that they have a serious issue that needs to be resolved. My own family was afraid of this and thought I was too fragile at the time to hear that news. For some reason, morbidly obese people have not been given the same treatment as alcoholics and drug addicts. Food addiction is extremely prevalent in the processed, fast food, hellhole diet society we live in. Obesity is by far the leading cause of death in developed nations, and it is only getting worse and causing a strain on our healthcare systems. Obesity deteriorates our bodies in an extremely similar fashion to drugs and alcohol, and it should be fought back against with a resounding force. With that introduction, let's discuss the topic of today's video, Jaimie Weisberg and her TikTok videos. I'm sure you have seen her TikToks pop up around different avenues on the internet. While the response is mostly to clown her, she receives a massive following and gets tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of views on each of her videos. But why even bother commenting on her? She's leading her own life, believing her own things, and it penultimately has no direct effect on me. This topic is where I draw a fine line in the sand. The thought that fat acceptance videos have no effect on me or others is unequivocally false. Look at the pandemic over the past year. The majority of people who died with a pre-existing condition was through obesity. It is estimated that in the US, each year we spend about $200 billion on treating obesity-related illnesses such as diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. It is also believed that obese individuals cost 15 times more than just overweight individuals in healthcare finances. All of this information is from George Washington University and is readily available. This is why I constantly take a hard stance against this issue. It is not exactly because I hate you for being fat, although I'd much rather be around skinny people than fat people for a plethora of reasons. It is because it is causing a national health crisis and is directly tied to people's lack of responsibility and sedentary lifestyles. Finally, let's look at a couple of Jaimie's TikTok videos. Her TikTok is the culmination of man-hating and being an obesity apologist. If you've seen one of her videos, you've basically seen them all. I think we will start with probably her most notorious video about BMI and her qualms with it. Believe me, I have issues with BMI as well because it is ultimately an outdated system to use to evaluate the overall health of individuals, because full blood work will give you a better understanding of the issues that exist in your body. However, if you haven't been able to see your coochie without the help of others or a mirror in the past year, then BMI is completely irrelevant because you are unequivocally unhealthy. I use BMI when I was losing weight as a barometer of where I should be in comparison to obesity and overweight individuals. The issue is that people have no perception of what a healthy individual for their height is supposed to look like. There have been reports about the average weight of a female today is heavier than the average weight of a man in the 60s, which is absolutely preposterous. While BMI should probably not be used for healthy individuals to gauge their own health, the 2/3 of Americans who are either overweight or obese should use it as a starting point to understand a range of where they have to get to. The second clip I pulled out simply because I think there is an interesting dichotomy between her perceived body shaming of fit bodies. This isn't what her body looks like, and you shouldn't be basing her off of this filter. I understand what I'm talking about is surface level, but the point I want to make is that when a filter that is designed to transform how you look into some other shape fails to change you at all, there should be some sort of wake-up call. But then again, this is the same person that posts videos about how they are in self-recovery from an eating disorder, yet look like this. Everything about this situation is not something to directly laugh at, which is what I thought I was initially going to do, but should be treated more as a tragedy or a drama of the downfall of somebody's life that is well documented. The last video I want to discuss comes down to something that has irritated me for a while, and is not only a mindset of hers, but is a widespread mindset of others on social media. I find it hard to believe that people cannot come to grips with the hierarchical structures that exist around them. Every group or social belonging that you are a part of is constructed in a hierarchy. I'll use a situation of my own to try and understand this point. I go to the gym and am automatically placed within the hierarchy of not only those who also go to my gym, but ultimately everyone who goes to a gym. And this can be broken down into different subgroups all over the place by putting people who run marathons into one group and one hierarchy of bodybuilders into another. It is essential to understand that it is primal for us to place people within a hierarchy and to fall somewhere into that organization. Beauty is not an outlier in this system. We organize people by how attractive they are based off of a plethora of different means. And some lead back to how our ancestors sought out a mate. Through a study driven by the National Institute of Health, it can be derived that both men and women are able to accurately rate the attractiveness of both genders based off a series of different influences. One such example would be through age. Men find younger women more attractive because of the primal urge to procreate. They see younger women whom have not gone through menopause as being more attractive than those who have gone through menopause. Coincidentally, obesity makes someone look older because of the pulling and pushing of fat and skin in unordinary ways, which is not as attractive as someone who might have a chiseled jawline. Lastly, health plays an obvious factor in what someone finds as attractive. They use the example of the white part of your eye as a good indicator of health. If the eyes are a vibrant white, that person would be more desirable than those who have darker or yellowing eyes. This can be directly tied into our perception of obese people because we can innately tell that something is wrong with an obese person, and once again, through our primal instincts, sickness is a perceived instinctual ability, and we do not want to be associated with these people in fear of harming ourselves. In conclusion, this study of one of TikTok's most popular fat activists is to try to drive home the point that people need to be more responsible. We live in a time that you can just buck the blame onto someone else and ultimately never make any meaningful changes in your own life. You will constantly be lapped by those who better themselves every day. Regardless of their point in progress, anyone making better changes for themselves is more desirable and more attractive than those who are stagnant.
One of the things psychologists have done for the last 20 years, especially the social psychologists, is push this idea of self-esteem. You should feel good about yourself. And I think, why would you tell someone 20 that? It's like, you should feel good about who you are. It's like, no, you shouldn't. Why should you feel good about who you are? It's like you should feel good about who you could be. You should treat yourself as if you're valuable, especially in potential. But you should concentrate on who you should become, especially if you're young. It's more like you should understand how much potential there is within you to set that straight. And then you should do everything you can to manifest that in the world, and it will set it straight. And that's better than self-esteem. It's like you're in a crooked, horrible position. Okay, fine. There's a lot of suffering and pain associated with that. Yeah, you can't just feel good about that because it's not good. But you can do something about it. You can genuinely do something about it.